Have you ever been using Fusion and suddenly your parts turn this pretty pastel color? Well, it's called component color cycling, and let me show you what it's used for and how you can turn it on and off. Have you ever been working in Fusion and all of a sudden all of your components change to this pastel color and you're not sure why? Well, it's probably because you accidentally hit Shift N on your keyboard. If I go into my inspect menu, there's a command in here called display component colors, and you'll notice that the shortcut is Shift N. And this sometimes happens like when you're naming something in your structure browser or something like that, and you didn't realize you had clicked out of it, and you type in like Shift N, and all of a sudden your parts turn into this funky color. Well, what is this and what is it used for? Well, it's kind of a cool graphical way to visualize your components and where they are and what features were used to create them in your timeline and in your browser. You'll notice, for example, over in my browser, each of my components and my assemblies and subassemblies have these colors next to them. And then in my timeline, as I scroll through, you'll notice that there's colors above all of the features in my timeline. So for example, we can see here, this part at the very top, if I click on that, this is that basket cap. It's kind of a dark purple. And we can kind of see here, there's this dark purple. So in this location of my timeline, this is where all of the features were used to create that particular basket cap. Now we can take it one step further. For example, if I were to go ahead and activate that basket cap, we can see, sure enough, here are the steps required to create that particular component. And we can see the purple color above all of those features. Let's take a look at like an assembly or like a sub-assembly. So I'm going to go ahead and activate this motor gear assembly. And to make it easier to visualize, I'm going to right mouse click and say isolate. And that's going to turn everything else off. And now we're just taking a look at all of the parts that have to do with this motor gear assembly. And you can see there's a couple different colors here. And if we look at the timeline, sure enough, we can see those colors in the timeline. Again, a very visual way to kind of see how was this assembly created. So this kind of this light cyan colored part was the first thing that I created. And we can see I started with a sketch, then I did an extrude, then I shelled the part out, create a couple holes, added some fillets, etc., to create that particular part. Then you can kind of see, I did some cutting and pasting, for example, brought in this gear shaft. You can kind of see that as I highlight that. Created a cylinder primitive to create that gear shaft. As I continue stepping along, now we're taking a look at kind of this red part, and this is where I created this gear. So obviously I started with a sketch, did an extrude, combined, the small gear with the larger gear together, etc., etc. Then I obviously did the larger gear. Sorry, I skipped over. There's some revolute joints. I started combining these parts together with some joints. And then I created this larger gear and then did some motion links to link all of these together. So as I rotate these, you can kind of see how they all interact with each other. So that's kind of the idea behind using the component color cycling option. Now, if you want, there might be times where the colors are too similar to each other, and you might want to change a particular color. So for example, like on this spur gear right here, if I right mouse click on it in the browser, there is an option in here called Cycle Component Color. And if I click on that, you can see that it changed it to a different color. And I can keep doing that as often as I want. So now you can see it's more of a yellow color, and it actually updated it in my timeline also. So that's a cool little trick. In fact, let's go ahead and back out to the top level. I'll unisolate this just like so. And let's just take a look. I mean, this looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and turn off the basket. And let's just say maybe like these two colors are just a little bit too close for my liking. I'll go ahead and select on this part right here. It highlights it in my browser. So I can just right mouse click on it and say cycle component color. And we can see that that changed it to a totally different color. Even though you can cycle through to change the colors, you can't pick a particular color that you want. Once again, if you want to toggle this on or off, you just come up to your Inspect menu and click on Display Component Colors to turn that on or off. If you want to learn how to create the pencil sharpener assembly I used in today's video, here's a link to the playlist on how to create that assembly. And as always, have fun learning Fusion. See you next time.